a little early on our panel. I don't know if you're ready, Warren?
Not yet.
Okay, so we can, while I have lots of questions, I think it's more important to let the audience have the opportunity. So, if I could ask whoever has some questions about virtual worlds for our panelists, yes? Can I repeat the question? I'll repeat the question this time, and then you can get the microphone. So the question from the audience is, well, Jim, how did you grow that audience? What happened?
Kids tell kids. Actually, it's interesting. The first kids, long story. You can read the book. I'm actually writing a book on why built about where it came from and why we built it. The first thing we actually did, WIVO was launched in association with an article I was writing in the LA Times, in which we wanted feedback from kids about scientific questions. Long story, I won't tell you, I don't have time to tell you one story. Well, so we started in LA, basically with our kids from Los Angeles, because they read the LA Times article. However, we then watched ourselves jump around the world, and it turns out it was through families. Cousins telling cousins, telling cousins, telling somebody else, etc. So it's through the family structure that actually was how I.
One of the neat things I've noticed at Wyville is a good exception here, or example. I mean, good example here. Same with Club Penguin, same with Minecraft. That there weren't big marketing campaigns behind those virtual worlds when they got started. It was talk on the playground that really got going. Another question? Yes.
I'm wondering if you guys believe the social element of your virtual world. Do you have a preference, or are you seeing a dichotomy between kind of setting up your own user profile in your? Thank you. The social element of your virtual worlds. I'm wondering if the user would set up its own separate profile in your virtual world, or maybe connect through Facebook. For myself, surfing or registering for a website, if I see a little login through Facebook icon, it's highly preferable to rather than setting up an entirely new profile. So, what are your thoughts in terms of integration with Facebook and using that platform for your social element?
David and Jonathan, don't you both have a Facebook component as well to your products?
Not really. I mean, Facebook is we work for Mattel, so we don't really consider Facebook a safe place for kids, so we don't actively promote Facebook, though we do have fan sites on Facebook that people can participate in, but we wouldn't directly link our Facebook profile. But what we do is one profile for all the Mattel sites, so that you create one Mattel profile and you can just go between the different Mattel experiences. So it kind of settles that.
And we use Facebook, so you can sign on, especially for parents. They sign on, and we've only been online on Facebook for about 8 months. We've got 60,000 fans on Facebook. That's a vibrant community. It's a great way to get information, to get that feedback from the kid right to the mom, to right onto our, we get a lot of our feedback now instantaneously, 20 minutes later after launching a feature. So when we develop a game, we develop light, we launch, we get that feedback. Version 1 is just a beta version online. Our developers get that feedback instantaneously. The next week's launch, we'll have an entirely new game based on that feedback. So what we find Connect is, what we call it Jumpstart Connect, back to Facebook. It's a great way to get that information back to the mom. Hey, your child's playing a learning game right now. Your child's doing this, and they keep it in the screen close. It's good for a couple % of our traffic. So it gets a lot of other looks and other click-throughs.
Our kids make their own groups and associations and all the other social media sites about WIVO. So we haven't actually gone out and actively built that ourselves. As far as maintaining coherence, one thing that's interesting about kids is that they use the internet differently than we do. Most adults use the internet to be anonymous, so they maintain lots of different accounts, some of which you show your mother and some of which you don't. Our kids tend not to do that. They tend to be sort of more coherent about how they use it. The internet's being used by kids as an extension of their real worlds, their real lives. It's like we use the phone, they're using the internet. We use the phone plus TV, they're using it together. So, but we we actually watch what kids do. You know, they make new groups in YouTube and in Facebook, builds around different clubs and groups that they themselves have created within Wyville. So that's how you make all this coherent. The kids make it coherent for themselves. How do you help them do that? Do you want to help them do that?
If we have another question, and while we're looking for the audience, I just wanted to ask Jonathan, do you have some thoughts about kids and CarPlay in virtual worlds? I know from what I've seen and what you've shared with me, there's a lot of great things with your world with cars. Is this a hot area for boys? Is this a very competitive area for boys?
Well, yes, especially on the console, and that's really what we're competing against as well, because we're competing against, users aren't just playing online games, they're playing things on every device they have, and including the TV with the consoles, their handheld and everything. So racing is a big popular genre, but we also have a brand, Hot Wheels, that fits within that genre, and that's really what sets it apart, because we're using Hot Wheels cars, we're doing it in a Hot Wheels way, in a Hot Wheels world.
We've got a long-standing relationship with Toyota, and last year with them, we had done a whole bunch of things with them for 7 years now. Last year, we actually launched a driver's ed facility in Wyville, so you can actually go to Wyville and learn how to drive a car. Last spring, when I was communicating with them, I wrote to them and said, should we do something with the accelerators so that they can learn to, anyway. The marketing guy at Toyota said, only you would I accept that email.
We have a question right here.
My question is, how do you foresee the future of the virtual worlds with the increasing number of tablets that everyone is using?
Very good question. Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, I'll start. I mean, we've just started to engage in that market. I think the most important phenomenon, what the DVD brought to the car, tablets bring everywhere. And they don't just put a DVD there. Now it's a gaming platform, it's your social media, it's your music playlist. That tablet, with the projections of 200 million in 2012 being sold, that's a device, that's a platform shift. So for us, we've just launched our first 3, and our next racing game, which will be more of a learning racing game. We don't have Hot Wheels brand. No, never. We're a game engine, 3D, Unity, it's game mechanics, not Flash.
Mine isn't, no. There's Flash interfaces, but the game's actually C++.
So, at least we see the tablet as critical and ubiquitous as the most important element of that. Getting to the point where whether you're playing online or on a tablet is relevant. It's just integrated.
Let me make a prediction. I do this periodically.
A flash prediction.
A flashing prediction.
Oh, good.
The really interesting thing about tablets and cell phones is that they go out in the real world. So I actually think one of the things you'll see here, I haven't seen it yet, sort of around in the medical business a little bit. I think there are going to be a lot of peripherals attached to these devices that make them very interesting in the world. Because we're education-based, for example, we're really interested in educational peripherals. I think we can make, for relatively inexpensively, a series or an actual hub which allows you to collect all kinds of scientific data with your cell phone or with your iPad. So I actually think that an iPad and a cell phone is not the same thing as a computer sitting on a desk. And typically the technology is introduced before people really know how to use it. So I think what you're going to see here is people trying to figure out, besides just reflecting on this device, what we know how to do now on that device, what are the unique capabilities of this device? What new capabilities does it give us? And in my interest in education, I think the answer is very powerful. So the initial thing people do is simply move what they're doing now onto the iPad. That's what we're doing. Eventually, the question is going to be, what can this particular device use uniquely? And one of the things about Apple is instead of figuring out themselves, they just said, here's an app store, you do it.
And we have a question in the back. If you can hold on for the microphone just a second.